to Dulcimer Crossing's Wednesday live stream. My name is Steve Uhlberg, and I'm coming to you today with the topic of electric hammered dulcimer. We spent some time last week looking at electric mountain dulcimers and dulcimers that could become electric and what happens when you're using an amplifier to shape the tone after you've created the tone. On an acoustic instrument, there's already a box that does some of that. But when you're playing with, or you're plugging in and including things that create an electric signal, then you can shape the tone. And a lot of the music that a lot of us enjoy has that shaped tone. Some of us come to the dulcimers because we don't want anything. We just want the dulcimer. Just give me the wood and the strings. And that's perfect. I love that. I also love when people mess with stuff. Somebody once said, "Do you ever just not mess with stuff, Steve?" And, the answer, of course, is no. But I have what I like, and you have what you like. And what I just want to do is do some demonstrating of what is out there and what's available. And what are people talking about? So I'm wearing my Bob's Red Mill t-shirt today. We were in Oregon to meet our grandchild a couple weeks ago, and we got to go to the mothership. It's not the original one because that was burned in a fire in 1988, but they rebuilt several times, and we got to go there. There's something anachronistic about this red mill, which is old technology of stones grinding whole grains to give us wholesome food that's good for our bodies, and yet they have scanners and electricity and all the other technology. So I think it fits with our theme today. We have the things that don't need to be plugged in, no batteries included, and then we can also have the battery stuff. So last week I was showing you my busking Boss Cube Street amp. This is the Cube Street 2. It's the second one I've owned, and it replaces one that was giving up the ghost after having been repaired. I have connected the two with a wireless connector, and so now they read signals with each other. This hammer dulcimer was built by Sam Rosetta design, built by Nick Blanton and voiced in the Sam Rosetta way, but I don't think you can see where it is. There's right here. It's very hard to see, but you might be able to see just a little bit that there is a wire that's coming out of the soundboard going into the bridge. Underneath this bridge is a piano pickup, the kind of electronic pickup, piezo style, that would live in a piano under the bridge to collect all of the let's turn you guys all the way off so we don't have any possible. It turns off it picks up the vibrations and turns them into electrical. I do have dampers on these. The dampers, unlike some other dampers that completely stop the tone, these don't do that immediately. What they do is dampen it so I can change the timbre of the instrument. So I tend to think of these, when the dampers are on, a little bit more marimba style. And that actually lets us demonstrate some things with the amplifier. Now I'm plugged in right now to my amplifier, and everything is at straight up with no effects. Gain and volume are the same, and here is the clean tone. Now you could hear tone before. That wasn't a problem. The box was doing its resonating, right? But what I'm going to do now is change to this a little bit overdriven one. So you can hear there's some funky stuff happening. It got a lot louder because this is really overdriven. Maybe not what you're looking for. Then here's an acoustic simulator, they call it, which tends to brighten up everything and make it really crisp. And then here's just a microphone setting, which has got a bit of a boost to it. Now on the other side, if I go to what's called instrument, not a lot going on there. There's also wide, bright. Here's wide. And here's bright. I can feel on other instruments. I don't hear it on the hammered instruments so much. It's a lot crisper. And then here's just normal. The mic setting. And what this would do for me, I've used the pickup before when playing in outdoor settings where the wind blows across the microphone and creates a whoosh every time it blows past the microphone. And this lets me provide amplification without the outside sounds like that. Now, I'm going to take it back to clean. I'm going to boost the bass a little bit because this instrument's a little treblier. And if I take the bass completely away, I'm going to move my microphone so you're hearing a little bit more of the amp than it was when you're right above it. I'm going to take the bass and boost it. If I take that away and boost the mids. And if I take that away and boost the highs. The graphic equalizer, which is here, continues to shape the tone. I have a couple of effects that can be added. Here's a chorus. And if I wanted to do the delay, that's where the pedal really makes a difference. Now, because the amp setting is not letting us hear a lot of what's happening, let's try a different one. I don't have digital choices about what the amp is doing. Let's see. Hang on just a second. I need to get to... If you're commenting, I'm not seeing it at the moment, so I need to get to the right profile where that will happen. Facebook platforms and their changes, right? Yeah, Doug, you're saying experimentation can lead to innovation. I don't know any other way to innovate something. There's desperation as well. Experimentation and desperation. Now, I can't digitally dial it in to say I want this length of time in my echo when I'm using the delay setting. But what I can also do is use the reverb, which makes it sound like we're in a big hall. Turn down the gain a little bit. You heard what happens there. The other thing about things being amplified is bridge hits get amplified as well. Everything gets amplified. So this is the kind of thing that could be a useful tool for busking. Particularly I have not worked with wireless connectors before. I remember Robert Force demonstrating that a long time ago to me on his mountain dulcimer, when his speaker was in our room that we were rooming together at Western Carolina, and he went up and down the hall and went out the building, and I could still hear him playing in the room. It's like, that's pretty impressive. But they've gotten quite focused. They've gotten clean, and they've come down in price. And so I'm going to turn this off. I've got this transmitter that I can plug in, and this has a toggle thing here. Let me change my camera view. It can bend depending on what instrument it's in. It can be straight or it can be bent over like this. It can be set to 4 different channels so that it matches with a receiver, which looks just like this but says receiver on it. And you can turn, if you don't want the extra sound when you're not playing or talking, you can turn it off here. You can turn it off here. They both need to be turned off. They can both be recharged with USB, and with a full charge, they last 5 hours. The amplifier is powered by 6 AA batteries and has an AC adapter. So you can have, if you're in a setting like a studio like this, you can have it plugged in and have constant power that doesn't drain the batteries. So those are some examples of the kinds of tone shaping that can happen. This one has a little looper in it as well. Let me do this first. Turn that back on. And then I can read. And it picks up what I'm doing next. And I can keep recording. And that's an idea, a way to capture some ideas. So these are some things that I'm experimenting with right now. And so I'm going to turn these guys off. A new amplifier for the new year to replace one that has gone bad, and new connectors. So that's some new stuff, for new gear for the new year. But here's also what I want to do. I want to share one of the people a lot of people have been trying this idea for a good amount of time. And so people have tried some other ideas that are not electrified, but they have an impact on what we can do with the dulcimer. There was one that was created with tubes that you can play. One that was created with flat bars that you can play, laid out like a hammer dulcimer, that sound very much like a xylophone. And the tubes ring, so they have a different, and they have names, and I can't remember the names right now. Ken Kolodner has one of those and has performed fairly recently with that instrument. Those are some ways to redesign and think of the instrument in other acoustic ways where something's vibrating. But Chris Foss is someone who has really focused on nope, that's not the one. Here we go. Really focused on creating an electric hammered dulcimer. So I want to share this. If you go to this place, this is the link. Hammered Mbira. There we go. Thank you, Jim. That's the link to watch. He's created an electric hammered dulcimer, which doesn't have a box. It just has a frame and it has pickups. And so he's created a drum loop, and he recorded the melody first, and now he's playing. a different tone and part. And you can see there's quite a bit of volume and surprising tone that's available just by choosing the pickup rather than the acoustic thing. Now, Mary Faith Rhodes in Pennsylvania has an instrument that doesn't have a box. It has a soundboard and some bracing and bridges. And that itself sounded pretty amazing when I got to jam with her in California many, many years ago. And Sam Rosetta, the last dulcimer that I saw him play at a jam in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, was that same idea. In fact, I don't know who came up with the idea, which one, but they're from the same neck of the woods, relatively speaking. So it's surprising what can actually happen when you stretch strings and you choose an amplification box. Now, what I like about that clip I showed you is that you can see very clearly there's nothing more needed but strings, bridges, and pickups. And then you plug it in. He's got a whole array of pedals and boxes that he uses to demonstrate the sound. Then he generally runs through what he calls his dirty rocker amp, which lets you have some this is a modeling system, but he had a Marshall amp and he had all these pedals. So he was playing through the exact same kind of things that an electric guitar player would play through to get the tones that they use. So that's all tone shaping after the sound's created. This particular image that I shared demonstrates that all you need is the strings. The other thing he's done is he's used cimbalom style dampers that are down, and when you push on the pedal, they lift up, which is the reverse of typical hammer dulcimer dampers. My hammer dulcimer dampers are up until I push down. His are down until he pushes up. That helps to deal with, you heard that little warble in the sound here? It's like there's too much resonance going on over here, and it's feeding back already at very low gain. And so that helps deal with that. Now, the other thing he's done is create solid body hammer dulcimers. So there is a box, but it's solid. Well, I don't know if it's a box. It's solid. What I'm doing is taking an acoustic instrument and using an electric pickup to make it an electric. So if this was a guitar, it'd be an acoustic guitar with a pickup, so we call it an acoustic electric. I also want to share this video. This doesn't show you there we go. That's the one I want to share. No, this one. Okay. Dan Landrum, an early adopter of a lot of things, has one of Chris Foss's instruments. And what he's done here, I'm going to stop that, start over. He said he put this together, this was a year ago, put this together and just added photos from his iPhone to create the visual. But listen to the music that's behind it. You're not hearing it? Okay. Sorry. I was hoping that would work. Here is the post, so you can go listen to it yourself. I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work in the sharing. So you see all these different things, but he built a rhythmic track and played over it. Now, these are some ways to electrify things. Okay, maybe I'm not seeing it. I moved a file over here where I could get to it, and now it's not here. So this is welcome to um, welcome to the wonderful world of electronics in the 20th century, because things can go wrong. One of the things Steven Seifert was counseling everybody at the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was trying to get their cameras and microphones in, is don't overcomplicate it. And there's a good reason that one would say that, because every new thing you introduce can create a problem. It creates way more ways to have a problem. And that's why it's good to have the thing, work with the thing for years, and then share the thing. I haven't had that time. But any questions that you have from this? And Jim, I think I've heard that same thing about creating the electric guitar. I'd heard two before, but Railroad Try is even more dramatic. When you listen to Dan's um, post there, which is improvisation based on a rhythmic track, there's some drum, there's some bass, and some string and things. Yeah, that's a caption of a cartoon. The other side of that cartoon is somebody spends all this to create this wonderful track, which is then reduced to an MP3 that people listen to on earbuds. So there's no way that this thing equals this thing, and we've gotten used to this thing as the standard for what this should sound like. Oh well. I'll have to show the other thing at another time. It's a post I'm creating for the blog at Dulcimer Crossing. Jerry Heim is a Colorado friend who loves woodworking, loves playing music, and loves electronics. So he's created a hammered dulcimer. Let me go over here, where there are LED lights built into the bridge on both sides. And he can program, depending on whether he's a left or right hand player, and what the song is, the lights will show up as the music plays. So you can, and you can speed up and slow down so you can see where to hit it. True, Jim, that's true. It's rough when you've been a whippersnapper most of your life and now you're not. You're a coot on the way to Fogey, or the vice versa. I don't remember which is which. But anyway, I'll share that with you, and that'll be in the Dulcimer Crossing newsletter when that is ready. Speaking of Dulcimer Crossing events, the next thing that's coming up is Erin May Lewis is doing um, her workshop tomorrow, and let me get there to show you that. This is on chromatic hammer dulcimers. There we go. Did I say chromatic hammer dulcimers? Hammer dulcimers are chromatic. No, it's on chromatic mountain dulcimer. And share the tab. And that will be at 5 o'clock Mountain Time tomorrow. Playing in other keys, when, where, why, when, and how. And workshop and mentor level students get access to that as a privilege of their membership. Anybody else can sign up here. If you're a DIY person, then all you need to do is upgrade in order and can join the workshop for half price. And then you have access to the whole archive. If you want to go back to being a DIY member, that's fine. Okay, good question, Talon. Let me. You have a Boss GT guitar effects processor. I have heard of. Um, I've heard of several software companies that are behind the curve, and Windows 11 came out and screwed up everybody's sound stuff. Mac's next one. I always wait for one thing. I when I get I never buy at the beginning of the curve. I am not an early adopter, like I said that Dan Landrum is. I try to let everybody else have all the bugs, and then I'll try to benefit from their learnings and everybody's fixes. I have too many pieces of crucial software that need to work, all of it, in order to keep my life and my work going. So that's why I don't do right away. I have heard, and I've had MIDI interfaces, I've had digital interfaces that did not upgrade, and that's very frustrating. Yep. It's unusual that Boss would be somebody that has had that problem. Have you written to them about that? That's the other thing is, if they're an active company, they are. I'm expecting them to do customer service, and if they don't, that makes that lowers their reliability and value in my mind. So that's one of those things to keep in mind when I'm purchasing a new piece of gear. You called and left a message. Okay. Try the email support too. Right. And if I get invited to be a bug tester and be a beta tester, that's fine with me. But if they just do it to me, not fine with me. That's the other thing about customer service these days. Um, I like the Simplero system that I work with for Dulcimer Crossing because there is a way for me to constantly ask questions. There are tech people that get back to me quick. It's not on a phone, it is in a chat, but it's amazing how efficient that can be. And we don't have to be on hold and try to mesh schedules because some of the tech people don't live in my time zone, for example. Now, there's one other thing I want to call attention to, and that is um, my winter classes begin next week. Actually, um, the evening prayer service began last night, working through this. And Doug, look, I've updated the book, and everyone who's taken that class is going to get a copy of the 2023 revision. Classes to walk through my first 50 songs book with Hal Leonard, one for beginners and one for novice to intermediate. So this one is similar to the QDF course that I'm teaching in a couple of weeks, but in 6 weeks we get a chance to get through a lot more tunes than we can in 2 hours and at a deeper level. This is for people who want to play the level 1, level 2 songs. If they have some of the other ones they want to play, we'll work on those. Developing folk tunes using folk tunes to develop level 1 and 2 fingerstyle arrangements for guitar. Fiddle tunes from Fiddle M. Diddle's Hammered Dulcimer recording. We're going to use those tunes as a way to not just learn the tune, but learn how to fancy it up, how to back up when you're playing in an old time kind of way, and then Mountain Dulcimer Joy, which is working on right hand technique, fingerstyle, or flat picking. And those courses all begin next week. Registration ends on Friday. So, friends, my excitement is I don't know what our topic's going to be, but next week, Aaron May and I will be doing this together in our side by side live stream. So, I look forward to seeing you next week. This is Steve Uhlberg from Dulcimer Crossing, and I encourage you to keep picking, peak grinning, peak grinning, and keep hammering and bring more joy to the world. Bye.